I'm sure many of us know someone, if not you, who's felt uncomfortable talking about religion and money or just have feelings of shame or guilt about it. Welcome to Yahweh's Money, a podcast where we discuss the crossroads or intersections of religion and money. We're going to go deep into topics like tithing and saving and debt and so much more from the religious view. I'm your host, Shay Cook, CEO and founder, Crusaders for Change, LLC, and our co-host is Vanessa McNelly, one of our financial counselor, coach, educators. Let's talk about God and money. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Yahweh's Money. Today we're going to be talking about bare bones budget. It's been a while. We were away for a summer break, but we're back. Hey Vanessa.
Hey Shay, I'm super happy to be back. I feel like we haven't spoken in forever about this
Yes.
topic or, just money in general. So it's
Money in
good to
general.
be back.
It is. And we just want to make sure that, we're talking about Yahweh's money, right? God and money,
Exactly.
religion and money. So the crossroads of religion and money is what we talk about on these episodes. And we're super excited to honor God and talk about one of our favorite subjects, money and finances. But according to the Economic Well-Being of U.S. Households report released by the Federal Reserve in May of 2023, so this year, 4 out of 10 Americans are struggling to pay their bills. With inflation, increased housing market costs, and student loan repayments starting back in October, which is crazy. I think it's been 3 years since people have paid their student loans. There is a lot affecting an individual's finances. And for many, this is the time to prioritize essential expenses and create a bare bones budget. Do you agree, Vanessa? I know
I
you do.
do. Yeah. And I think it's crazy when you think about this because, when student loans come back, I think a lot of people are not going to know what to do with it. They're just not
They're
going to know.
not.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I wonder when we're talking to our clients, what are they doing with that money, right? At one time you were paying for those student loans and then you stopped, or you weren't. Maybe you were deferred, you were in a forbearance, and now you have to make a payment. So you might have to find another repayment plan that fits what works for you. But what is a bare bones budget? It is a budget that, and we call it a BBB, as a budget that covers only the necessities you need to survive. This sounds drastic, but it's temporary and not meant to be forever to get you through your financial times or financial emergencies, or if you want to pay off debt quickly. The key is to reduce your spending as much as possible. And we'll talk about how to create a BBB and stick to it. So in Proverbs 38-9, it says, "Keep me from lying and being dishonest, and don't make me either rich or poor. Just give me enough food for each day. If I have too much, I might reject you and say, I don't know the Lord. If I am poor, I might still and disgrace the name of God." So God wants us to find that balance, is what I get from that scripture.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's really good for us to see this too, because there's so many times in our lives where like, I need more if I just had this other thing. And we forget to just kind of sit there in the moment and say, I'm happy with what I have. I'm in a good spot. We always either say, I need more, I want more, or, I've got everything. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. So, yeah, I think there's so much comfort in having enough and just enough, to get through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, I think we talked about in this episode this year or last year about how, this world, but in America, we want. We social media and so many other influences from outside make us want more and more and more. The bigger house, the bigger car, this jewelry, this outfit, this, that. That's when you have your necessities, but you're still wanting more. We're not comfortable in that minimalization that people are trying to like just minimize or just be comfortable in what you have. You don't even have to minimize. You don't need to constantly buy a new outfit every year or new shoes every year if you got shoes and clothes in the closet and so forth. So
exactly.
yeah.
And I think too, we forget what our needs versus wants. We don't know that word. Everything ends up being a need for us. We need to have a better car because our neighbor does. We need to have, amazing eyelashes because everybody else online does.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're all needs to us. We
Needs,
forget what a true need is.
Yeah, exactly. And so, how do we create a BBB, a bare bones budget? And just talking about what are our necessities, right? Like,
Mhm.
for example, let's break down the expenses that you would include in that. Housing, we need some
Right.
kind of housing, but that type of housing, we can get into this a little detail in a minute. But,
Mhm.
the housing, the food, your essential grocery items, the utilities, gas for your car, whatever's necessary to get you to and from work and other necessary locations, insurance, debt repayments. Hopefully, you can pay off
Yeah.
your debt, and that won't even be a need. That just be a want. Your daycare, your tuition, and then of course your personal care expenses such as medications, grooming for work, and work clothes.
Right.
Those kind of things. But those are the necessities,
Yeah, that's it.
right?
That's it.
So what's not included? Entertainment expenses, cable and streaming costs, clothing that is above and beyond what you need, restaurant meals, alcohol, vacations, and non-essential personal care such as pedicures, hair color, and massages. And I would even go back to what's in your necessities, like a house, right?
Right.
That's a necessity, but the type of house,
Mhm.
like, do you really need 5,000 square feet? Do you really need 10,000 square feet? Do you really need an ocean view? Do you really
Right.
need a mountain view?
Right.
Those kind of things are not, those are wants, and those are
Exactly.
beautiful wants if you can achieve that. But that's not something, if you're really trying to cut back for whatever reason,
Mhm.
you don't need that right away.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And, and it's one of those things too. I think they think, well, I've always had this. And if I don't have this, I'm going to feel like a failure. I see that
Mm,
so many times. It's like, that's what I've achieved. If I start working backwards, then I'm going to feel like I am not good enough and I've not done a good enough job in life, to make those milestones count. And the reality is who's setting those milestones and those goals for
mm,
yourself? You are. Nobody
you
else is
are.
doing that for you. So if you find yourself in these positions, it's okay to be okay with a little, and it's
Exactly.
okay to not compare yourself to others. And there's so many things you can do to still have a good, productive life when you're going through these things.
Exactly. That is so true. I brings me back to a story about 15, 16 years
Yeah.
ago. We were in Turkey. My husband was going through a medical retirement. I wasn't working the first part of the tour
Hmm.
so I could finish my master's degree. And also, I was taking care of our baby girl
Hmm.
and taught her how to read and did a lot of great things with her, spent a lot of amazing time with her during those 7 months. But I had come across some friends from his unit, his squadron, and from just being out in the community. And these two ladies, both of them had husbands that made great money. My husband made good money, but he
Yeah.
was only like 45. But my point is, I was on a super, super bare budget. Like, I'm extremist. I can go all the way in or go all the way and pull back. And I pulled back extremely.
Yeah.
Like, I cooked every single meal.
Hmm.
I didn't do any, I didn't buy any clothes. I
Yep.
did my own hair.
Hmm.
I took care of everything of Alana. I didn't, the clothes I bought for her is when she was growing and getting through clothes, but I
Yeah.
used coupons. I mean, I literally was on a
Yes.
bare budget
Yes.
trying to pay off everything. But the shame that came from that
Mm.
friend circle was extreme because
Right.
they had a beautiful home. I mean, even though we were in Turkish housing, but they had all the fixings, all the furniture, all the decorations and stuff. I didn't. We just had a basic living room
Yeah.
set and very, very basic items. And I'll never forget, I went to the mall with them. I didn't buy anything because I was like, I'm just going site, just
Hmm.
going to window shop and just hang out with you guys. I did like buy some food, very cheap meal. Remember, it was like only like $10 in Turkish food. They were buying all this food and treats. And I was like, nope, I'm on a super big
Hmm.
budget. So when I get home, I'll never forget this so-called friend at the time. We don't even talk anymore because of stuff like this. She gets out of the car and she says, Nate, you need to give your wife some money. I was like, excuse me? She's like, and
Whoa.
Nate's like, what's going on? So of course, this started a whole conversation with my husband, like, why you didn't buy anything and all that, because she was like, she didn't want to buy anything. And I said, so and so, I didn't want to buy anything because I'm on a budget, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And so my husband's like, Shay, I'll give you some money. I was like, Nate, I don't need any money. We're
Hmm.
good. Like, I got
Hmm.
money in savings.
Right.
I'm on a very bare budget because
Yeah.
I have goals to meet. And my husband's about to be
Exactly.
retired from medically retired from the house in the military, and we knew
Right.
we had to go into life outside of that. And so there was many reasons why I
Hmm.
was on a bare bones budget, but
Hmm.
for that kind of shame that you get. And I think that's why, like, people, when they see people on social media doing stuff and are like, oh, I don't want to not
Yeah.
look like that, or not, because people might shame me, or I
Right.
might shame myself.
Hmm.
So that was a very difficult time, but hey, I'm glad I stuck with it.
Yeah, and I had a similar situation,
Oh,
and
wow.
I think it's one of those things too. You look back at these and they do make you stronger. They really, really
Yeah.
do. So I had a divorce from my ex husband who was military as well, and I literally walked away from that marriage with my car and my dog and an air mattress. So
Oh my
here
god.
I am, in my early 30s. I have never in my life had a roommate that I didn't want or didn't know. And I find myself finding a girl on Craigslist and renting her guest room. And you're like, okay, I have an air mattress, I have a room in somebody else's apartment, and you're having to restart and you have nothing because I came from an environment where my husband made all the money and I would get a job when I could because as a military spouse, it's hard to find employment, let alone a career. I found a part time job making $10 an hour. And I was like, okay, I have $20 a week for groceries. I had no streaming services. I used what I had. And I was, it was rough, but you can do it. And you look at it as this is not forever. This is for now so I can have a better later on.
Exactly. Exactly. It's temporary, and even
Exactly.
you might during that temporary time, you take out life lessons that you can apply. Like when
Hmm.
I know I'm like saving up for a trip or a car or whatever, I know that at one time I was like super extreme in my bare bones budget. Like I
Yeah.
cut back everything. I sacrificed a lot. There was a lot of self control and discipline. And so I'm able to apply that in different parts of my life, whether it's
Yeah.
budgeting again, saving again, meeting a financial goal, whether it's hopefully trying to lose weight, like whatever the situation is,
Uh
those
huh.
kind of like lessons you can apply in other
Right.
areas of your life too. So it's definitely worth it.
It is. It is. And I think,
Hmm.
when you bring up that shame factor too, I remember like not telling people where I lived. And, I would meet people
Mm,
out and about. But at the same time, now I look back on that and people are like, why didn't you let us in and let us know these things?
mm,
And you're like, because, it's nobody's business, number one. But
exactly.
number two, like you are a little, disappointed in things. But like you said, it teaches you to be better later on, be prepared later on. So this isn't
Hmm.
something that continuously happens. You're ready for, the pitfalls of life after this, I think.
You're right, because
Mhm.
during that time, even before that, when we were living in Germany and we were using was HMO, housing management office, like
Yep.
furniture, and
Yep.
we had all that furniture, and it was super hard. I remember throwing because I didn't have any, we didn't have any furniture. Like
Right.
my husband and I, when we got married, I think all we had was a TV, his grandmother's old recliner,
Yep.
like an old bed that he had with no headboard and
Yeah.
footboard, and a stereo. And they actually
Yeah.
stole our TV and our stereo when they
Oh my
moved us from
goodness.
Maryland to Germany, which was like,
Yeah.
really, we didn't even have anything in our shipping. You're going to steal those two items,
Right.
but so we didn't have anything. I remember
Mm.
throwing a comforter, old comforter, over the couch because it was so hard, and I was
Mm.
embarrassed to have people over. Like my husband didn't care. Men don't care about that kind
I
of stuff.
don't at
They'll come
all.
over and play video games and drink and smoke and all that. It don't matter. It could be on
Yep.
the floor. But
Hmm.
women, something about us, not all women, obviously, but some,
Right.
you want to have that certain look and stuff.
You
So
do.
I
You
know, and
do.
even in Turkey, I was embarrassed like having people over because we had this really
Hmm.
thin carpet and we didn't have all, like I said, all the decorations and all the stuff that
Right.
other people didn't have.
Yeah.
I remember going over a friend's house and they had just got married within a year and they had all this beautiful furniture. And later I found out they just put it all on credit. Like
Exactly.
I think they used their star card.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it was just like,
Oh,
I was like, okay. So,
right.
all those kind of lessons. And
Mhm.
I'll never forget my mom
Mhm.
told me when we got married in Germany, she's like, it took me at the time 20 years for her to get all the stuff she had in her house. So she's like, it's going
Exactly.
to take time. Cause I was like, call home, like, we don't have any furniture. We don't have
Yeah.
any this. We don't have any that.
Yeah.
She's like, Shay, it took your dad and I 20 some years to get to where we are. I'm like,
It
oh,
really,
okay.
and that's part of this too, is not realizing or not being okay with the standard of working your way up to something. Everybody wants it
Yeah.
now. They want it yesterday.
Delayed gratification is
Yeah.
lacking in
I mean,
this
I
world.
can't tell you
Yeah.
how many, 20 somethings I've talked to and they're looking to buy, their dream house. And I'm like, you've never owned a home before. Let's have a little starter house. Do we know what a starter house is these days?
I know,
Uh,
right? I don't think so.
no, people are so afraid to start with, version one of things and then working your way up. But mine was the same thing. first place I lived with my husband was in Germany. Same thing. We had that beautiful loaner furniture, uh, and people walk into your house, they know exactly what it is, and that you don't have
Exactly.
things. But it was there. It was free, and it worked. It
And
worked.
it worked.
Hmm.
It sure did. And so I had it. That's all we had. And then we bought a leather couch set that we still have 20 years
Wow.
later because I take really good care of my stuff.
Hmm.
And then in the big furniture I bought in Turkey, I woke up this morning thinking about this, you've seen it, my bedroom
Yeah.
furniture. And I was like, this is lifetime furniture. This furniture, because
Exactly.
it's real wood, is
Exactly.
solid. This is like that furniture that's been in the
Hmm.
castle in Britain's or where
Yep.
forever. So
Exactly.
when we buy stuff, it's quality and it lasts, but
Exactly.
we saved up for it and
Hmm.
made sure we use. So that's very important to us as well, the quality and
Hmm.
just delay, going back to what you were saying, the delayed gratification. Like
Hmm.
these kids, they want to come out of college, as we've talked before in many
Yep.
episodes, making hundreds thousands of dollars,
Right.
driving around in a luxury vehicle, having a big old, hundreds of $1,000 home. And it's like, dude, I'm
Yeah.
45 almost. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just getting to that. Like, what is
Yeah.
wrong with you?
And sometimes people don't get there, and that's okay because they find happiness in other things and places.
Exactly. That part, Vanessa. A lot of people are like, I
Yeah.
don't need all of that. I'm okay with my
Right.
little townhome or my little home or
Mhm.
apartment, whatever. And
Mhm.
it ain't even little to them. It's like, this is all I need.
Exactly. Yeah.
I need a
I
bathroom. I need a kitchen. I need a living room and a bedroom.
It's
That's all I need.
so true. Yeah, so I bought my
Yeah.
house in early November, and it is 1,400 square feet. And most people be like, "Dang, that is tiny." And I'm like, "I have
No.
rooms I don't use."
Exactly.
And I moved from, former government housing, which was
Mm,
fine because I worked on a military base. And, it
yeah.
was fine. And you had, basic, tiles on the floor and everything was the same color. But it was fine and it was affordable and it was safe. And, there was
Mm.
nothing wrong with that. And people would look at me like, why are you living here? And I'm like, because there's nothing wrong with this and I don't need anything else.
Exactly.
I'm content with what I have. But yeah, some
Oh my
people just
God.
they want and they want. And I know. So my boyfriend recently moved back from Nevada, and that's a struggle he's
Mm,
been having too because he was from Vegas, and everything is bigger and better and flashier.
mm.
And he had like a $1 million plus house, and he had a Lamborghini, and he had all these things. But because he's kind of going back to this simplistic lifestyle, it's a struggle,
Mm.
but he's
It's a
able to do
struggle.
it because of some sound financial decisions he's made. But you can't keep that lifestyle if you decide to retire. So there's so
Mm.
many things that you have this stuff, but it doesn't bring you happiness at the same time.
Mhm.
And you learn that other things can make you so much more happy than spending money on nice things.
Exactly. In the word, it says in Luke 12:15, it says, Then he said to them, Watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions.
Right.
Hello, I'm gonna say that again. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. And you hear these stories so many times, countless times, of
Yeah.
celebrities or just rich people, millionaires, billionaires. They have all this money and they're still not happy.
Exactly.
And it's so that is, it doesn't bring, money does not bring
No.
happiness. Now, some people say, well, it does bring you some kind of joy. And well, it might bring you happiness, but it's not going to bring you joy. Let me put it like that. Joy is
Yeah.
more complete, more solid, brings the peace. It's not going to bring all that. Because honestly,
Mm-mm.
I agree. More money, more problems. That is true. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So,
I think didn't they do a study at one point and they said like $75,000 used to be the mark. And it was like
oh,
if you
yeah.
made this amount, then yes,
Mm-hmm.
anything above that does not bring happiness.
It
So
does not
yes,
bring
below
happiness.
that
Yeah.
you have struggles that you wouldn't have
These struggles.
otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean there's so many other things that can bring joy and happiness, and the more you have here, the less you have for other things, the more you have to
Mm-hmm.
lose. And then people look
Mm-hmm.
at you and they want things from you because they think you have money to give or to give
Mm-hmm.
away or to do other things with. So there's a lot of problems that come with it too.
That's so true. I don't know why my brain is going here, but it was thinking like what brings me happiness or
Mhm.
joy when I'm like traveling or
Yep.
vacationing. Like we stayed in a big home this week with my family, first vacation, and it actually was a good vacation, but I gave it a 7 out of 10 because it was a dirty. Okay, it was nasty. I
Mhm.
had to go in there clean. And I know this
Mhm.
home is probably a multi-million dollar. I know it was because it was
Yeah.
huge. It was a
Yeah.
cabin in the woods in Maryland, Deep Creek, Maryland. It was beautiful, beautiful location. It was dirty, and I'd rather stay in a little 100 square foot room that's
Yes.
immaculate and clean than a big ass, excuse my language, home.
You are so right,
That
though.
is so that's what brings me happiness is cleanliness.
You are
So which I
so
always heard
right.
cleanliness is next to godliness. So
Exactly.
I mean, I'd
Yes.
rather be in a $100 room that's super clean than in a
Right.
$1 million home that's
Yeah.
nasty.
Yeah. So
That's just me.
So,
So
I had almost the opposite experience as you because I was in Miami this week and I was
okay.
trying to be super frugal. So I found this room in this, gosh, it was like a little efficiency and it was like $45 a night. And I was like,
Oh my
please,
God.
Lord, let me just be safe. And I get there, it's bare bones, but it's super clean. Everything is clean.
Oh,
And I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I did this.
exactly. See, I would have been more happy with that.
Yeah, it
I
was
mean, so
great.
that's to be, and that doesn't cost nothing but some
Mm-mm.
Lysol wipes and some
Exactly.
dusters, Swiffer Duffer for me, and like some Lysol. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, that's all that costs, and maybe some
Right.
time and some,
Mm-hmm.
cleaning time. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, to me, that's what makes me happy. I don't care
Agree
about, oh, this big old
completely.
house has a beautiful view. No, it's dirty.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
cobwebs everywhere. This is potentially mouse droppings. Like,
Right. Yeah.
no, that's not happy to me.
I know. I went with my boyfriend to his stepdad's house a few weeks ago for the first time. And I'm always like kind of weary when I go to someone's house because I'm like you. And I grew up in a house where, you didn't eat at people from anything from somebody's house if they had an animal in the house. You don't know who's
Hmm.
making it, like that kind of thing. And I walk
Exactly.
in and I'm like, oh my goodness, this house is spotless. Like, I just
Oh,
felt so happy and so comfortable.
yes.
And like, you could literally eat off the floors if you wanted
That
to.
brings me joy.
I
That
know.
brings me
It
joy.
just it made me feel so at ease in the situation. But I agree with you
So,
completely. Like, and those things
yeah.
don't cost anything.
They don't. Like, so find something like that doesn't cost anything, whether it's like you be around
Yeah.
the people that you're around.
Mhm.
That doesn't cost anything. Spending time with good people that make you laugh,
Exactly.
that make you
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
The things around us that we can
No.
buy. I mean, that's not
Right.
important, really. In the end, like as my dad always says, you can't take it with you.
Mm-mm. And get
You can't take any of this
creative.
with you.
Get creative.
Yeah.
I think some of my most fun dates that we have had in the past, like last weekend, we went to an old cemetery, and it was
Mm.
like whoever could find the oldest headstone got a
Oh
prize,
wow.
and the prize was like, I'll give you a shoulder rub for 10 minutes or whatever. So nothing that costs anything to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes we make our own little games up and ask each other
Mm-hmm.
questions. These are all free things. They cost
Mm-hmm.
absolutely nothing. They make you laugh like more than you've ever
Yeah.
done in your life. And you're not
Exactly.
spending hundreds of dollars for a dinner that you could
Mm.
have made at home for 20.
Exactly. So how can we still have fun? And we're kind of already talking about it and
Yeah.
stay disciplined on a BBB, a bit bare bones. I was gonna say Better
Yeah.
Business Bureau.
You're right. That's exactly what
on,
I think too. Yeah, I
on
think
a bare bones budget.
so. I think number one, you have to plan ahead, number one, and you
Amen.
have to get creative. And I think a lot of parents, especially, I've seen they've had so many problems where they want to take their kids to do all these amazing things when in reality, their kids just want time with them. That's
That's all
it.
they want.
So
Yeah.
instead of going to an amusement park that you can't afford right now,
Hmm.
say, you get to pick the movie, you get to pick the dinner theme tonight, and we're going to cook together and then we're going to pile up and watch a movie on the couch. Or, if your kid likes to have little adventures, do a scavenger hunt in the backyard. I
Hmm.
mean, there's so many fun little weird things you can do that cost nothing. It's just planning and just being present in the moment.
Exactly. And some of our recommendations also include cook at home if you enjoy
Yeah.
eating out, make
Mm-hmm.
coffee at home. You can
Mm-hmm.
definitely save money by making coffee at home, attend free activities in the community, get a
Yep.
library card, and rent movies and books for free.
Yep.
If cutting cable gets expensive, they have TV antennas out there, or cutting cable can get
Yep.
expensive, but there are TV and antennas out there for $10 to $20, or just
Mm-hmm.
do yourself personal care, do your own nails,
Right.
take a bubble bath, those kind of things so you chill out. I know again on this trip we just did this week, we went hiking in a state park. It was $6 per person to get in, but then they discounted it for veterans or for
Mm-hmm.
military families, and it was the most glorious time. We saw
Mm-hmm.
waterfalls in Maryland. I was like, I didn't know there was waterfalls in Maryland, but so it was like just so much fun. And then the boys, so that was the girls went to that hiking, and then the boys went fishing, which I know it can get kind of expensive if you're really into fishing, but
Yeah.
you can rent fishing poles and buy bait that's cheap, and you got to get a fishing license in
Mm-hmm.
Maryland, like $8 for a very cheap fishing license for a couple of days. So there's very inexpensive things you can do,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just so many things. And another thing I would recommend, or I wanted to say, I was reading Disruptive Thinking by Bishop T.D. Jakes. So I'm reading that book right now. And he mentioned how he used to spend all his time during Thanksgiving cooking. And his kids one time came home after he cooked this glorious meal with McDonald's. And he was like, wait a minute, I just cooked all this food. And he was like, they're like, Dad, thank you for doing all of this. But, we really just want to spend time with you. You were in the
Exactly.
kitchen the whole time. And, TD Jakes is just a very
Mm-hmm.
busy man. He has a
Mm-hmm.
lot going on. He shares a lot of this in his
Yep.
books, and a lot of his books I've read. And his family and kids were like, we just want to spend time with you.
It's so true.
You're in the kitchen the whole time on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I'm sure by the time he's cooked all that food, he's
Mm-hmm.
tired. So now
Exactly.
instead of cooking a huge meal with 100 sides and all these different proteins and stuff, he takes them on a vacation and spends time with them around the
I
holidays.
love
So
that.
he can spend time with that. So, even the big people in the world, the
Mm-hmm.
celebrities, the rich people, they're starting to learn. I'm sure a lot of us learned this during the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic. Time is not promised,
Mm-mm.
and it's the biggest commodity out there.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
biggest commodity out there. Time.
It really is. And that's funny because my dad, we talked last night and I'm going to visit him in 2 weeks. And he asked me the same thing. He's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, what I always tell you I want to do. I want to sit on the couch with you, order pizza, and watch movies. That's what I want to do with you.
Oh.
I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want time because you don't get a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time, when you're an adult with your
Mm-hmm.
parents. And he's always like, well, I want to go buy you this. I want to go do this. I'm like, no, I just want to chill with you at home. Like, there's
Exactly.
nothing wrong with that. It's fun.
Exactly. And discipline, it all comes down to discipline too. Even when you're trying to spend time with your family, you got to be
Mm-hmm.
disciplined to make time with your family, right?
Right.
If you're a very busy person. And
Mm-hmm.
in Proverbs 12:1 it says, to learn you must love discipline. It is stupid to hate correction. Correction is necessary. It's a
Mm-hmm.
privilege, honestly, especially when it comes from the Spirit and God, and He's trying to, just
Yeah.
rectify your actions and
Right.
how you react and stuff like that. But discipline is very important in everything. So even
Mm-hmm.
if you're like, I don't have time, yes, you can discipline yourself to have
Right.
time and control your schedule so you can spend with your kids or your spouses or your family or
Exactly.
whoever it is.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
very important.
Well, yeah. And then going back to just, all of this and not spending money as well, you have to have the
Hmm.
discipline to say no. It's okay to say
Yes.
no to yourself and
No.
to your kids and your spouse. It's okay to say no.
Others. Hmm.
And that's a lot of problems I think that we see with this is parents are like, oh, just because I'm having to do this, my kids shouldn't have to. I mean, we see that all the time. Like, no, your child is part of this family and this family is
Hmm.
struggling. And it's okay for them to learn techniques now
Hmm.
while, they have you to guide them through it to cope with things because they're going to be better humans if they learn these
Exactly.
things. So,
Exactly.
yeah, it's okay to say no and it's okay to say not right now.
Exactly. And they need to learn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they need to learn struggle, and it's okay for them to
Mm-hmm.
struggle. And so
Exactly.
let's not try to, these kids are so entitled, but that's another episode. So any final thoughts?
I just think it's one of those situations we forget about what true needs are. We need to
Hmm.
think back to, our grandparents and what they had. And we need to be happy and okay with those things first. And then remember, as we're talking about this, it's temporary. It's not going to be forever. It's just to get you through and it will get better.
Exactly. Practice gratitude. Be grateful for what you have. Be grateful for what you have. Well, thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to follow us wherever podcasts are found. And remember, it's always better Yahweh's way. Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the crossroads of religion and money. Also, we would love to hear your feedback on today's episode, so please leave us a review or just tell us what's on your mind. And remember to follow our podcast. If you have any questions or suggestions of topics for us to discuss, please email us at yahweh@crusaders4change.org. To hear all of Yahweh's Money latest episodes, please visit us at www.crusaders4change.org or wherever podcasts are found. God bless.